There comes a very quiet moment in your life when you realize you don't hurt the same way anymore. Not because the story didn't matter, not because you forgot, not because what happened didn't change you, but because it did change you. And that's when you realize healing didn't come the way you thought it would. Most people think healing is loud. They think it's the moment you wake up and don't care anymore. They think it's the day you fall in love again. They think it's when you finally get an apology, or closure, or an explanation that makes everything make sense. But healing, real healing, is quiet. It happens on ordinary days, while you're washing dishes, while you're driving home from work, while you're folding laundry, while you're sitting in your house and the silence no longer feels like punishment, it feels like peace. And one day you realize something very strange. You're not waiting anymore. You're not waiting for the phone to ring. You're not waiting for a message. You're not waiting for an apology. You're not waiting for them to understand you. You're not waiting for the pain to stop. Because somewhere along the way, it already did. And that's when you know you're finally healing. One of the first signs you're healing is that you stop replaying the story over and over in your head. In the beginning, that's all you do. You replay conversations. You replay the day everything changed. You replay the lies, the red flags, the moments you ignored your intuition. You replay what you should have said, what you could have done, how you could have loved better, been calmer, been smarter, been different. Your mind becomes a courtroom and you are both the lawyer and the one on trial. You question yourself. You blame yourself. You try to make sense of something that never made sense to begin with. But healing begins the day you get tired of replaying a story that only hurts you. Healing begins the day you realize clarity does not come from them. It comes from acceptance. And acceptance sounds like this. It happened. I didn't deserve it. I can't change it. But I can choose what happens next. Another sign you're healing is that you stop checking. You stop checking their social media. You stop checking your phone. You stop checking who they're with, what they're doing, whether they're happy, whether they miss you, whether they regret it. Because in the beginning, checking feels like control. But really, checking is pain shopping. And healing begins when you decide you don't need new information to move forward. You don't need updates. You don't need to know if karma found them. You don't need to know if they're struggling. You don't need to know if they're happy, because your life is no longer tied to what they're doing. Another sign you're healing is that you stop explaining your pain to people who never tried to understand it. In the beginning, you want people to know what they did to you. You want people to understand your side. You want someone to say, you were right, you didn't deserve that, they were wrong. But healing comes when you realize closure is not an explanation. Closure is a decision. Closure is when you stop trying to get people to understand a story they didn't live. Closure is when you stop defending why you left. Closure is when you stop explaining why you stayed so long. Closure is when you stop explaining why it hurt so much. You don't need a jury. You don't need a verdict. You just need peace. Another sign you're healing is that the anger starts to leave your body. Not all at once. Not in a big dramatic moment. It leaves slowly. One day you realize you haven't talked about them in weeks. One day someone says their name and your stomach doesn't drop. One day you drive past a place that used to mean everything and now it's just a building. One day you realize you're not angry anymore. And that can be confusing because you think anger is strength. But anger is heavy. Peace is strength. Healing doesn't always look like moving on. Sometimes healing looks like sitting still and rebuilding yourself piece by piece. Another sign you're healing is that you start choosing yourself without guilt. This is a big one, because many women weren't taught to choose themselves. They were taught to be loyal, to be patient, to be understanding, to be forgiving, to hold things together, to love people through their brokenness, to give second chances, to give third chances, to give chances until there is nothing left of them. So when a woman finally chooses herself, she feels guilty. She feels selfish. She feels like she gave up. She feels like she failed. But healing is when you realize choosing yourself is not selfish. It's survival. Another sign you're healing is that you stop romanticizing the past. You stop saying, but we had good times. You stop saying, but they weren't always like that. You stop saying, but I miss who they used to be. And you start telling yourself the truth instead of the fairy tale. You start remembering the nights you cried. You start remembering the anxiety. You start remembering the confusion. You start remembering how your body felt when you knew something wasn't right. You start remembering how tired you were, how you were always trying to fix something you didn't break. Healing is not just remembering the good. Healing is remembering the truth. Another sign you're healing is that you fall in love with peace. Not a person, not attention, not validation. Peace. You start to love quiet mornings. You start to love your routines. You start to love your own company. You start to love not arguing. You start to love not wondering. You start to love not crying. You start to love feeling safe in your own life. And once a woman falls in love with peace, she will never again choose chaos disguised as love. Another sign you're healing is that you forgive yourself. This one is the hardest. You forgive yourself for ignoring the red flags. You forgive yourself for staying too long. You forgive yourself for loving them. You forgive yourself for what you tolerated. You forgive yourself for the times you begged, the times you cried, the times you broke your own heart trying to hold on. Because you realize something very important. You didn't stay because you were weak. You stayed because you loved. You stayed because you believed in commitment. You stayed because you saw the good in people. You stayed because your heart is loyal. And healing is when you stop punishing yourself for having a good heart. Another sign you're healing is that you're not afraid anymore. You're not afraid to walk away. You're not afraid to start over. You're not afraid to be alone. You're not afraid to say no. You're not afraid to lose people who don't treat you right. You're not afraid of the truth. You're not afraid of choosing peace over history. Fear kept you in places love should have protected you from. Healing replaces fear with standards. And maybe the biggest sign you're finally healing is this. You start getting excited about your life again. Not revenge, not proving a point, not showing them what they lost. Just your life, your future, your peace, your goals, your home, your routines, your dreams, your freedom, your next chapter. You start to realize that your life did not end when that relationship ended. In many ways, your life began. Because pain introduces you to yourself. Heartbreak introduces you to your strength. Silence introduces you to your thoughts. Loneliness introduces you to your independence. Loss introduces you to your resilience. And one day, you wake up and you realize something has changed inside of you. You're not the same woman who cried on the bathroom floor. You're not the same woman who begged for honesty. You're not the same woman who ignored her intuition. You're not the same woman who thought love meant tolerating pain. You are wiser now. You are calmer now. You are stronger now. You are more observant now. You are more protective of your peace now. You are more in love with your life now. And the most beautiful part about healing is this. It doesn't just repair you. It introduces you to a version of yourself you had never met before. A woman who can walk away. A woman who can be alone and be at peace. A woman who does not chase. A woman who does not beg. A woman who does not ignore red flags. A woman who listens to her intuition. A woman who knows her worth. A woman who would rather be alone than be disrespected. A woman who understands that love should feel safe, not confusing. A woman who understands that peace is the real prize. So if you're wondering whether you're healing, don't look for big dramatic signs. Look for the quiet ones. You laugh again. You sleep better. You stopped checking. You stopped explaining. You stopped blaming yourself. You started setting boundaries. You started enjoying your own company. You started making plans for your future. You started protecting your peace. You started choosing yourself. Those are the signs. Those are the quiet miracles. Those are the moments that don't look like much. But they are everything. Because healing is not becoming who you were before. Healing is becoming who you were always meant to be before you settled for less. And one day, not today, not tomorrow, but one day, you will look back at this time in your life and realize something that will bring tears to your eyes. Not because you're sad, but because you're proud. Proud that you walked away. Proud that you didn't go back. Proud that you chose yourself. Proud that you survived something that almost broke you. Proud that you didn't let pain turn you into someone bitter. Proud that you stayed soft. Proud that you stayed kind. Proud that you stayed loving. But most of all, proud that you healed. And when that day comes, you will understand this. Some people come into your life to love you. Some people come into your life to teach you. Some people come into your life to break you. But you were meant to rebuild yourself. And there is nothing more powerful than a woman who rebuilt herself alone. Not because she wanted to, but because she had to. And she did. And that is how you know. You're finally healing. Before you leave, I want you to take a deep breath and realize something. You're going to be okay. And not just okay. You're going to be stronger, wiser, and happier than you were before. If you're healing, if you're choosing yourself, if you're walking away from what hurt you, subscribe and join this community. You're not alone on this journey. Thanks for watching.